This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by super lightweight Jack Catterall. Some would say should be the undisputed world champion right now. Unfortunately not. But how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Been a couple of months now since the fight, back in the gym, chipping away, hoping for a date in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, all is good. Thank you.
It seemed to all kick off again over the last week or so with old Josh Taylor on social media. How did that kind of start?
You know what it is, Danny? I don't dislike anyone in boxing, but I think the way Josh has carried himself over the last couple of months has been a bit distasteful. And I seen a post that Pro Bellum had put out about 3 fighters, and he'd made a reply to it. So I thought, you know what? The baby was in bed, the missus was in bed. I thought, I'll have this one tonight. And I showed him on the king of Twitter as well.
Great stuff. Yeah, like you say, you don't dislike anyone in boxing, but what is it about his behaviour since the fight that's kind of got you a little bit?
You know, I'm the first fighter to go over and show the respect and shake the fighter's hand. And I think before the fight, I think I said it in a press conference. Look, the best man will win. I shook his hand and said, look, we can shake hands after the fight, etc. But getting to know Josh, getting to know him as the fight was building up and focusing more on him, so to speak. But if you look down Josh's timeline, I don't think he's a nice person. The way he's interacted with fans, the way he's carried himself, and the stuff he does out the gym, certainly not somebody I would want to be friends with. And that kind of grew on me as the fight approached. And then certainly after the fight, some of the comments and the things he said and done, I don't agree with. But I'll reiterate, I don't have any hate towards Josh. The decision was out of his hands. That's down to the judges. But I do think there's stuff Josh could have done that was better. But it is what it is.
Now, it seemed very much likely after the fight that he was going to move up to welterweight. He talks about the struggles to make weight, and it seemed like it was all systems go for an assault on the welterweight division. But there's since been rumours in the recent past that he now might be staying at 140. What do you make of that? And does that make a rematch more likely?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure mounting on Josh over the last couple of weeks. I mean, you'll have to speak to him and find out what he wants to do, but I'll certainly be open to a rematch. A fight I believe I fought or won. I think everybody else did, by Josh and 1 or 2 others. But if you look at it from Josh's perspective, what options has he really got? The big names at welterweight are not interested. There's fights at 140. He'll have mandatories, but who's he really going to fight at 140? I think as time's passed now, he's kind of come to the realization, look, obviously you've got to consider the weight. I do believe he can do the weight. There was posts that he put out before our fight saying, I'll even come down to 135. And then you've seen the picture at the weigh-in, the best I've ever done the weight. So constantly contradicting himself. But I think he probably took his foot off the gas. He's earned his right to be undisputed, come through quite a few tough fights, and you know what, enjoy yourself. But then don't make that an excuse that you've not been disciplined enough in camp to do the weight correctly. I believe he can do 140. We'll see. But going forward in his career, I think his options are narrowed down right now, where I want to get back out straight away and put myself in a position to fight for titles again at 140. But if he's now open to a rematch, obviously that's something to be considered.
Now, it was well documented before that you stepped aside to allow him to unify all the belts in the first place. And I believe MTK Global were, instrumental in bringing that deal together. They're no more, unfortunately. They're not on the scene now. Does that make a rematch potentially harder to negotiate?
I don't think it's harder. There's people that I'm working with now in boxing, obviously and with Pro Bellum, but ultimately, if Josh wants that fight, and I'm certainly up for that fight, it can be made. We've seen over the years some of the biggest fights in British boxing are rematches, and I think after the aftermath of the fight and the way the public's reacted to it, and I do think it's a massive fight, a fight I think I can win, given the right set of judges. But Yeah, if you take MTK out of the situation, I do believe the fight can be made still.
And talking of Pro Bellum, obviously you joined them not too long ago. What's their kind of plans for you if the rematch doesn't come off? What's the route they want to take you on?
I've kind of made it clear that I don't want to be waiting around for a tick-over fight, so to speak. I waited 15 months for that fight, and a lot of situations were taken out of my hand regarding the mandatories and stepping aside and not having a fight day. I was ready to fight for 15 months leading up to that fight, so there was quite a lot of frustration there. I certainly don't want to be sat here now on the shelf waiting for a fight. I want to get straight back out, world title eliminator, somebody in the top 5. I want to put myself in that driving seat to go on and win a world title. I know Josh come back with his below par banter replies on Twitter, but he goes, it's not that easy. But I'm under the impression the WBA, somebody won the purse bid for that. They called the WBC. They can vacate that one. And the IBF and the WBO have not called for any mandatories. So it's a fight that can be made for 2 world titles, plus his Ring magazine. And I'll happily punch him around the ring and take them off him.
Yeah, I suppose from your point of view, 3 belts or 2 belts is almost as good as 4, as long as you get him back in the ring.
Yeah, I think so. In the aftermath of the fight, probably for a week, I was pissed off, but I've drawn a line under it now. Josh will keep saying, dry your eyes, stop crying, but that's not the case. I've been back in the gym and preparing to fight anybody, but obviously there's that needle now with Josh and the way he's going about stuff. So of course I'm excited and I want to get back in and I want to do a proper number on him.
Were you a bit disappointed with the WBO for not reinstalling you as the mandatory immediately following the fight?
You know what, Danny, I didn't get my hopes up. I understand how the governing bodies work, and there was a lot of back and forth between the governing bodies and the people representing me. But you know what, it is what it is. I've always said if it's something out of my control, then so be it. I've got to work with the stuff that I can control, which is being in the gym and being the best fighter possible. It was a bit disappointing, but not going to cry over it. Just got to rebuild now and put myself back in the position to fight for them titles again.
Do you still feel like an unbeaten fighter?
Definitely, I'm 27-0.
Good stuff. I'm glad to hear it. When were you likely to next be out? Regardless of what happens with Josh, when do you want to be back out?
I'm in the gym now preparing for a late summer fight. Hopefully they can get me a good fight for summer. If something materializes with Josh and his team and Top Rank, I'm certainly open to that. But yeah, I'm considering all options. I'm not going to rule out a fight with Josh. Likewise, I'm not going to rule out fighting July, August time. So I'm in the gym and I'll be ready for whenever.
Great stuff. Well, appreciate you finding time for a catch up, and hopefully next time we talk, you'll have a date in the diary for a meaningful fight.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Danny.